Jelly Roll hadn't even finished settling into his chair when the studio lights warmed the set and the crowd erupted in cheers. The atmosphere was already electric. He had that effect on people. His mix of humility, humor, and hard-won wisdom made him feel like the kind of guy everyone could root for. But even he sensed that something felt off today. Maybe it was the way Joy Behar kept flipping through her note cards with an almost restless energy, or the way the other hosts kept throwing each other quick glances. Whatever it was, Jelly Roll knew he'd have to be quick on his feet. As the applause died down, Joy leaned forward with a tight smile. "Well, Jelly Roll," she began, stretching his name just a little too much, "you've had quite the year, haven't you? #1 songs, awards, everywhere in the headlines." She paused, tapping her stack of notes. "But I can't help but notice some people think you're not exactly the ideal role model." It was subtle, but the tension snapped into place. Jelly Roll kept his posture relaxed, but inside he sighed. It was going to be one of those interviews. "Well," he said with an easy grin, "I've never claimed to be perfect. I just try to be honest about who I am." Joy lifted her eyebrows, amused. "Honest, sure, but don't you think your past, prison time, addiction, all that, sets a questionable example for kids who look up to you now?" The studio audience shifted uncomfortably. Some of the co-hosts looked away, clearly not co-signing where Joy was steering the conversation. Jelly Roll's smile tightened at the edges. He had been open about his past for years, not to glorify it, but to show growth was possible. But Joy wasn't asking a genuine question, she was probing. "I think," he said slowly, "that showing people you can turn your life around is one of the best examples you can set." "Unless," Joy shot back, "it encourages people to make the bad choices first so they can redeem themselves later." A few groans came from the audience. Jelly Roll's eyes narrowed just slightly, a rare flash of irritation, but he kept his tone steady. "I don't think anyone needs to go to prison to appreciate a good song," he said. "You can learn from someone else's mistakes without repeating them." Joy waved her hand dismissively. "Come on, you really believe parents want their kids looking up to someone who calls himself Jelly Roll, and built his brand on criminal records and tattoos?" The temperature on set felt like it rose 10 degrees. One of the other hosts tried to jump in gently, but Joy cut her off. Jelly Roll sat forward for the first time. "Joy," he said, voice even but firmer now, "I didn't build my brand on any of that. I built it on music, on empathy, on second chances, on trying to help people who feel hopeless." Joy opened her mouth, but he wasn't finished. "People relate to me because I've lived through the dark parts. And I didn't stay there. That matters, more than what you read on some cue card." A ripple of applause broke out, and Joy stiffened slightly, not used to being challenged this directly, especially not by someone with Jelly Roll's disarming charm. She smirked, trying to regain footing. "So you're saying criticism doesn't bother you?" "I'm saying," he replied, "that people criticize what they don't understand. Or what they assume. And I think we've got enough assumptions in the world." Even more applause. One co-host nodded vigorously, while another mouthed, "Wow," under her breath. Joy leaned back, crossed her arms, and said with thinly veiled irritation, "Well, I guess we'll see what the audience thinks." Jelly Roll didn't miss a beat. "They usually do," he said, flashing a grin that sent the crowd roaring. Joy's jaw tightened. The shift in power was undeniable. Now, Jelly Roll wasn't just handling her pressure, he was flipping it right back at her with effortless control. And the more the audience supported him, the more visibly uncomfortable she became. It was clear to everyone watching, both in the studio and at home, that this wasn't the direction Joy thought this interview would go. And for the first time all morning, she seemed rattled. In Jelly Roll, he remained calm, grounded, and unapologetically himself, even as the storm clouds gathered for what would become the most explosive moment of the episode, which was still yet to unfold. The tension on set was already thick when they returned from the commercial break, but the audience didn't know yet just how far things were about to spiral. Jelly Roll sat with his hands folded loosely, his expression relaxed but alert, as if he sensed something brewing. Joy Behar, however, looked wound-tight, jaw clenched, shoulders stiff, her stack of note cards now gripped instead of held. Clearly, she wasn't done pushing. "So," Joy said abruptly, before the other co-hosts could begin the next segment, "I want to go back to something we were discussing earlier." She didn't even try to hide the edge in her voice. "You say you're a role model because you've turned your life around. But I'm curious, do you really think that outweighs the damage your past might still encourage? The audience murmured. One co-host gently placed a hand on Joy's arm, trying to intervene. Joy, we were actually about to. No, Joy snapped, I want to hear his explanation. Jelly Roll exhaled slowly through his nose. He hadn't come here for a fight, but if she insisted on making this personal, he wasn't going to sit there and let his character be dissected like a tabloid headline. I don't think anyone looks at what I've been through and says, hey, that looks fun, he replied calmly. I share my past because people out there are dealing with the same stuff, addiction, shame, feeling stuck. I want them to know they're not alone. Joy chuckled cynically. Or maybe you know that the drama sells. Trauma sells. Maybe all this, redemption arc, stuff is just good marketing. The audience reacted instantly, shock, a few boos, a gasp or two. Jelly Roll's eyes lifted, and this time, the disappointment in them was unmistakable. You think I talk about losing years of my life because it's good for streams? He asked softly. Joy, come on. Oh, don't, come on, me, Joy shot back. I'm asking what people at home are thinking. There's nothing wrong with questioning a public figure who profits off a dark past. One of the co-hosts finally stepped in. Joy, everyone in this business profits from their story. That's literally what entertainers do. Joy ignored her completely. You could use your platform to focus on the present. On positivity. Instead you keep dragging your criminal history into the spotlight. Jelly Roll leaned forward, both hands on the table now. I bring it up because people need hope, he said, his voice steady but packed with power. Not everyone grows up in Beverly Hills. Not everyone gets handed a clean slate. Some of us have to claw our way out of holes we didn't even dig ourselves. The audience erupted in applause. Joy rolled her eyes as if the whole room had betrayed her. Oh please, she said loudly, trying to shout over the cheers. It's always the same story, blame the system, blame the circumstances, never take responsibility. That did it. The applause died instantly as Jelly Roll stared at her, stunned. Joy, he said quietly but firmly, I've taken responsibility for every wrong thing I've ever done. I served time, I rebuilt my life, I work with addicts, I donate millions to rehab programs. What else do you want from me? Her response came, out sharper than she intended. Maybe some humility. The studio gasped. Even Joy realized she'd gone too far. But Jelly Roll didn't raise his voice, he didn't need to. His expression alone said everything. You think humility is sitting here letting you attack me for ratings? He asked. Because that's all this is, Joy. You're not asking real questions. You're trying to embarrass me. Joy scoffed. Don't flatter yourself. He shook his head slowly. I'm not the one trying to prove something. That line hit like a switch. Joy's eyes widened, and for the first time, she seemed genuinely flustered. One co-host's mouth fell open. Another whispered, oh my god. Jelly Roll continued, calm but brutally honest. I came here to talk about music, recovery, hope, all the things people out there actually care about. But you've turned this into a personal attack. And honestly, that says more about you than it does about me. The audience exploded in applause so loud the audio peaked. Joy looked around, stunned, her own audience wasn't on her side. Jelly Roll rose from his seat. I don't need to sit here and be disrespected, he said. Not when there are people out there who could use something real today. He gave a small nod to the co-hosts, who looked both apologetic and relieved, then turned toward the exit. Joy barked after him, oh, so now you're walking out. Jelly Roll stopped just long enough to look back at her. No, he said, I'm walking away from negativity. Big difference. The audience roared as he stepped off the stage. Joy sat frozen, speechless, a rare sight. The cameras captured every second of her stunned face as the show dissolved into chaos. And just like that, the moment the network tried desperately to downplay became the clip that would go viral worldwide within hours, marking one of the most stunning on-air shutdowns The View had ever seen.